Everyone is rushing to transform themselves into Ghibli characters using AI, revealing something fascinating about the psychology of trends. Just a few days ago, OpenAI's new image generator exploded in popularity so drastically that their systems overloaded, with their GPUs apparently melting, according to founder Sam Altman, forcing them to shift access to paid subscribers only. According to social psychology, trend participation directly impacts our brain chemistry. Participants experience a dopamine surge, a brief excitement that quickly fades. Research shows that FOMO, the fear of missing out, triggers the brain's stress response system, releasing cortisol that creates anxiety around trend participation. This is why sometimes we feel that subtle pressure to join in, even when we might not be genuinely interested, as it's evolutionarily hardwired in our brain. Within hours, the internet was flooded with colorful reimaginings of people's pets, wedding photos, celebrities, and memes, with profile pictures changing by the minute. A wave of requests soon followed to friends with paid subscriptions to generate the exciting images for them. Athletes can face this same psychological pull. That pressure for the latest shoes, recovery gadgets, or trending nutrition plan often has more to do with the social appeal than innate performance value. Here's the trend consciousness protocol that helps champions determine which cultural waves truly deserve their attention. First, do a quick authenticity check. Would you still engage in this if nobody else was doing it? Next, consider your core purpose. Does participating align with what really matters to you or distract you from more meaningful pursuits? Finally, embrace mindful choice. If joining in, do it for the genuine enjoyment, and if choosing to skip it, experience JOMO, the joy of missing out, finding satisfaction in your authentic choices. With thousands enjoying their recreated art, criticism of the legendary Studio Ghibli director went viral, describing AI-generated art as an insult to life itself, with many fans upset over AI trivializing art forms that took decades to perfect, and with OpenAI receiving a ton of copyright concerns. So when that next big trend pulls at you, whether it's the latest productivity app, fashion must-have, or workout routine, take a moment before jumping in and consider whether it genuinely enhances your life or just a temporary satisfactory craving to be part of the crowd. Champions don't chase every fleeting trend. They select what truly aligns with their values and advances their performance. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When Neeraj Chopra just won the gold at the Paris Diamond League, despite massive public pressure and expectations, it reveals something fascinating about how champions create that performance mode. According to neuroscience, elite athletes activate what you may call cognitive role transition, essentially switching between their everyday self and their performance alter ego. This process engages the prefrontal cortex to create distinct neural pathways for competition. Even Neeraj Chopra, a soft personality off the field, has a fierce demeanor during his event. When athletes embody an alter ego, their brain's motor cortex fires differently, creating enhanced focus and reducing anxiety. It's like having a psychological switch that transforms you into your most powerful version. Kobe Bryant famously created Black Mamba, his alter ego that allowed him to channel killer instinct and unwavering focus on court while remaining a loving father of it. Here's the alter ego activation protocol that champions use to deliver under extreme pressure. First, design your performance persona. Identify who you want to be. Write down specific qualities like fearless, focused, explosive. Give this version of yourself a distinct identity and even a name like warrior or fire dragon, whatever resonates with your spirit. Next, practice the transition ritual daily through visualization. See yourself literally stepping into this alter ego. Feel your posture change, your breathing deepen, and your focus sharpen. Visualize every technical detail of your performance while embodying your champion self. Finally, create clear boundaries between performance mode and regular life. After competition, use a specific exit ritual like a 5-second countdown or removing your gear piece by piece or a quick gesture with your hands. This deliberately shifts you back to your regular selves and protects mental energy. Remember, the alter ego approach isn't for everyone. Some athletes perform their best simply by being themselves. The key is finding what allows you to access your peak performance state. This protocol works beyond sports. Whether you're handling negotiations, presenting to executives, or performing on stage, your alter ego becomes your secret weapon for consistent excellence. So the next time you face overwhelming pressure, remember, you can step into a version of yourself designed to handle this moment. Champions know that sometimes peak performance requires stepping into a heightened state and mastering the art of transition and surprising yourself with your unlocked capability. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When this fighter refuses a handshake before a fight, how her opponent responds reveals a crucial lesson about separating emotions from execution in the world of high-performance sport. Let's peel back the layers of what really happened here. Just 24 hours before the fight, one fighter showed up 7 pounds, that's almost 3 kgs overweight, a significant advantage in MMA where every ounce matters in a chokehold. Her opponent faced a difficult choice: refuse the fight and lose her entire purse after months of training, or accept the fight at a disadvantage but claim 30% of her opponent's earnings and 15% of her prize money if she won. That's $30,000 at least for one fight and double if she wins. Her response? Accepting the fight but refusing the courtesy handshake. Is this unsportsmanlike conduct or a justified reaction to someone breaking the most fundamental agreement of staying within the weight for a fight? According to sports psychology, our brains perceive disrespect as a social threat, activating our fight or flight response and potentially narrowing our focus. Research shows that this can either enhance performance through motivation or impair it by consuming mental resources needed for execution. On the day of the bout, fans prepared themselves for an exciting fight. As the fighters got onto the ring with their own personal motivation, in the very first round, the overweight fighter secured a perfect victory with a rear naked choke, forcing her opponent to submission, proving that actual in-ring performance matters more than pre-fight displays of disrespect. Here's the performance over pride protocol that champions use. First, maintain your standards regardless of others' actions. While preparation failures deserve accountability, basic courtesy remains a reflection of your character, not theirs. Next, channel frustration into focus rather than displays. Notice how the fighter who refused the handshake ultimately lost focus on what mattered most, while her opponent channeled that energy into executing her technique perfectly rather than external displays. Finally, own your mistakes completely. The overweight fighter publicly apologized after the fight, saying that she was ashamed for missing the weight cut and admitted to skipping regular nutritionist appointments. The timing of this apology is questionable, but it still shows her accountability, as she was grateful to her opponent for accepting the fight either way. This applies beyond sports. Whether in business relationships, personal interactions, or any competitive environment, how we respond to disrespect defines our outcomes. So the next time someone fails to meet your courtesy, focus on proving yourself through perfect execution rather than wasted energy on external displays. Champions never forget how you treat them, but they make you remember their brilliance, not their bitterness. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When this young skater falls at the starting line of her race, what happens next reveals the profound power of parental example in shaping a child's response to adversity. Watch this critical moment. Young Zara falls right as the race begins. All the other skaters pull ahead instantly. In this split second, she faces a choice that will define her race. But this isn't the first fall she's witnessed today. Earlier, during the parents' races, she watched her mother crash painfully, struggle, then continue despite the setback. She saw her father similarly fall, but immediately get back up without hesitation. Now, drawing on these fresh memories, Zara makes her choice. She rises and begins the seemingly impossible task of catching up. One by one, she overtakes competitors, her determination fueled by the morning's powerful examples. According to developmental psychology, children learn resilience primarily through observation rather than instruction. When parents demonstrate perseverance during their own struggles, they activate their child's mirror neuron system, creating neural templates for resilient behavior that become accessible during the child's own moments of adversity. Here's the resilience modeling protocol that creates mental strength in young performers. First, demonstrate rather than dictate. Notice how these parents didn't just tell their daughter to persevere, they showed her through their own action when faced with genuine challenges. Next, talk about your struggles openly. When parents share their story of falling down and getting back up, children learn how to describe and overcome their challenges independently. Finally, celebrate the process over outcomes, creating a family identity centered on resilience rather than results. The ending to this story: silver medal for the mother, bronze for the father, and bronze for the young girl Zara as well, who could have given up just at the starting line. 3 falls, 3 comebacks, 3 medals, a perfect testament to the power of example. This principle extends far beyond sports. Whether in education, career development, or personal challenges, children develop their response patterns to setbacks by watching how the significant adults in their lives handle their own failures and disappointments. Consider what your response to challenges is teaching those who look up to you. Your actions in difficult moments create blueprints when facing their own obstacles. Remember, your greatest legacy isn't what you achieve, but how you respond when achievement seems impossible. Let's congratulate Zara and her whole family on this wholesome achievement. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. With just 10 shots remaining in the Olympic final, he was in third place with time closing in. His qualifying round shattered the Olympic record, and India was celebrating their almost first ever individual Olympic medal in shooting. All he needed was to maintain his form for a few more shots. This was Abhinav Bindra, India's most dedicated shooter. Having missed qualification 4 years ago by just 3 spots, the youngest contender at 17, he now carried the hopes of over a billion people, ready to carve history, even shooting a perfect 600 in practice a few days ago. But as he stepped into the final, everything started to fall apart. His scores started dropping strangely, and the crowd watched in silence as India's hopes crumbled. He finished 7th and returned home devastated. After 10 sleepless nights and numerous media rumors, Abhinav needed answers. He then received a mysterious text from his German coach Gabby. "Do you want to know what happened to you at Athens? Call me." In the middle of the night, with shaking hands, he dialed her number. What he discovered was shocking. His coach had found that the wooden tile beneath position 3, exactly where Abhinav had been standing, wasn't glued properly, where a tiny bubble had formed. In shooting, where every micrometer mattered, that tiny instability had destroyed his Olympic dreams. A flood of relief filled his body, followed by fury. He kept it quiet from the media and became a scientist on a mission, bolder and more clinical. He immediately installed a loose tile at his home range and practiced on every surface, from shooting in complete darkness to varying temperature, lighting conditions, and open spaces. He became obsessed with mastering variation. In 2006, he won the World Championship, defeating the Olympic champion, but that wasn't enough. When Beijing arrived, Abhinav qualified 4th, securing his spot in his final and a chance at redemption. But minutes before it began, disaster struck again. His first sighting shot hit a 4, then a 4.2. He suspected someone had tampered with his gun, but there was no time to investigate. Usually needing 2 to 4 clicks to adjust, this time he needed 40. Was Athens happening all over again? With 30 seconds left, he did rapid mental calculations, made his final adjustments, and told himself that it's too late, just execute. His first shot was a 10.7. With every shot, he moved up the leaderboard like a machine. By the 7th shot, he was tied with Finnish shooter Henri Hakkinen. The next shot would determine everything. Abhinav picked up his rifle one last time, with no time to think, aimed it at the target, corrected himself, and pulled the trigger. A 10.8, the highest score ever recorded in an Olympic final, while the Finnish shooter ended with a mere 9.7, gold. Abhinav Bindra had just won India's first individual Olympic gold medal. When Cristiano Ronaldo won the Nations League title for Portugal for the second time at age 40, it revealed something profound about the psychology of achieving consistent excellence. His invisible training off the field is legendary. Cold showers, sauna, gym sessions, strict sleep routines, diets, constantly monitoring physiological states, and mandatory spending time with his family for reducing stress. This relentless discipline isn't about natural willpower, it's about something deeper. While younger talents rely on hunger and natural ability, Ronaldo has mastered the art of intrinsic motivation that doesn't fade with age or success. According to neuroscience, when we connect our daily actions to a deeper purpose, our brain's reward systems release dopamine, not just for the achievement, but for the process itself. This is called purpose-driven neuroplasticity. Research shows that visualization before sleep enhances memory consolidation, literally rewiring your brain overnight to align with your goals. Your subconscious mind processes these images for the next 7 to 8 hours, strengthening your drive. Here's the Unstoppable Motivation Protocol to help elite performers achieve consistent results. First, know your why and make it tangible. Write down your deepest reason for pursuing excellence, whether it's to inspire my family, achieve independence, or to prove doubters wrong. Keep this message on your phone's wallpaper, room mirror, and read it every morning when motivation feels low. flow. Next, create a vision board and place it where you'll see it daily, in front of your bed or your laptop screen. Include images of your goals, the championship trophy, your dream physique, your family celebrating with you, or even photos of your role models. Finally, practice success visualization every night before you sleep to increase goal-driven neuroplasticity. Spend 5 minutes seeing yourself achieving your goal in vivid detail. Feel the emotions, hear the sounds, experience the moment fully. This programs your subconscious mind to work on your goals, creating neural pathways for success. Whether you're an athlete chasing records, an entrepreneur building a business, or a parent trying to stay healthy for your family, this protocol transforms fleeting motivation into unshakable discipline. So the next time you wonder how someone maintains excellence for decades, it's not about being superhuman. It's about connecting every action to a purpose that's bigger than yourself. Champions don't stay motivated because they're different. They stay motivated because they have internal systems that make excellence inevitable. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When Alcaraz faced 3 match points against Sinner in the longest French Open final ever, his response reveals the mental formula that separates champions from great players. Watch this unfold. Sinner dominates early, taking a commanding 2-set lead. The match seems over. 3 times Sinner reaches match point, but something extraordinary happens. Each time pressure peaks, Alcaraz elevates instead of crumbling. He forces a 5th set and then crushes the final tiebreak 10-2. In his post-match interview, Alcaraz reveals his mindset, that in those crucial moments he would tell himself to just go for it. It's not over yet. Anything can happen. This wasn't luck. It was a specific mental framework in action. According to sports psychology, elite comeback performance requires what you may call dual pathway resilience, the simultaneous activation of self-belief neural networks and sustained attentional control. These two systems work together. Confidence provides the courage to attack under pressure, while focus ensures technical execution remains precise when everything is on the line. Here's the champion's comeback protocol that creates unbreakable mental strength. First, build evidence-based self-belief through systematic documentation. Create a detailed list of your strengths, past victories, technical advantages, and physical capabilities. Review this before every high-pressure situation to prime your confidence neural pathways. Next, develop detailed visualization practices that reinforce your capabilities. Spend time daily mentally rehearsing perfect technique execution, seeing yourself succeeding in specific challenging scenarios until your brain accepts these outcomes as familiar experiences. Finally, strengthen sustained focus through mindfulness training. Daily meditation builds your capacity to maintain attention on immediate tasks rather than outcome pressure, allowing your technical skills to function when stakes are highest. This dual approach works beyond tennis. Whether facing crucial presentations, difficult negotiations, or personal challenges, combining evidence-based confidence with trained focus creates the mental state needed to perform when pressure is the most intense. Before your next high-pressure situation, ask yourself, do I have documented evidence of my capabilities, and have I trained my ability to focus on process rather than outcomes when everything matters most? Remember, champions aren't those who never face defeat. They're those who've trained their minds to say go for it when others say it's over. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When this 14-year-old smashes a 6 on his very first debut IPL ball, it reveals something powerful about the psychology of handling pressure. Almost halfway through the season and no chance to bat yet, 48 hours before, 14-year-old Vaibhav Suryavanshi makes a call home, passing on a message about a potential opportunity to perform. His childhood coach, who never misses a single training session, gave everyone a break for the day, saying that today Vaibhav is performing. On the day of the match, with crowds watching in and seasoned players ready to tear down their opponents, Vaibhav smashes a 6 on his very first ball, followed by another 6 and falls to an impressive start. His performance seems to be going steady, only when with inches of his foot off the air, he's stumped out by the wicketkeeper and walks off the pitch, tears flowing down his eyes. He lifts his helmet and uses his glove to wipe his tears, and the entire stadium cheers for the young champion who left a mark on his very first appearance. According to sports psychology, when young athletes play under immense pressure, they need to demonstrate pressure conversion, the neural ability to transform anxiety-inducing stress hormones into performance-enhancing energy. Here's the ACR confidence protocol that elite performers use to overcome self-doubt. First, acknowledge your negative thoughts. Transform vague fears like "what if I fail" into concrete statements like "I will get out on the first ball" or "I'm too young to compete at this level." Next, challenge these thoughts with specific evidence by asking a simple question: why is this not true? Provide not general reassurances but a detailed list of reasons. I've faced similar bowling speeds in practice. I've succeeded against experienced players before, and my power and placement is really good. Make this list specific to your strengths. Finally, replace the negative thought with the opposite positive statement based on your evidence. I will score runs, or I belong at this level because of my skills. This detailed approach strengthens the prefrontal cortex that becomes compromised during anxiety. This protocol works beyond cricket. Whether preparing for a negotiation, interview, or any self-doubt inducing situation, your ability to systematically challenge your own negative assumption determines whether pressure crushes or elevates your performance. So the next time you face a moment where self-doubt creeps in, remember to acknowledge and challenge the doubts with specific, rational facts before your big moment arrives. Remember, confidence isn't the absence of doubt, it's the systematic handling of fears with evidence that enables champions to perform far beyond their perceived limitations. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. This gymnast's bar becomes dangerously loose mid-routine. He prepared to get onto the bar, but seconds before his performance, the bar started shaking. There was no time to attend to it in detail, or he would risk point deduction or disqualification. His coach immediately rushed to tighten the screws on one end. With 3 seconds left on the clock, the gymnast decided to start the routine. It started off smoothly with him executing his skills well, but as he reached the other end of the bar, to his horror, the opposite end of the bar's screws were loose. Any imbalance in pressure and he could break his arm, or even worse, his neck. Most would panic or abort the routine. Instead, he decided to cautiously continue. Just in that moment, his coach quickly swooped in, performed a wizard-fast tightening of the screws, while the gymnast hung high in the air, holding his handstand a second longer, waiting for his coach to finish. And then he finished his routine gracefully and ended with a satisfying dismount and score performance. According to performance psychology, what this gymnast demonstrates is compartmentalized attention, the brain's ability to maintain focus on relevant stimuli while filtering out potential distractions, even dangerous ones. This skill is facilitated by the prefrontal cortex, which regulates emotional responses from the amygdala that would typically trigger panic. Here's the pressure compartmentalization protocol that elite performers use to maintain focus during chaos. First, develop a pre-performance routine that anchors your focus. Positive self-talk and box breathing can create preparation linked with deep concentration. Next, practice what psychologists call productive narrowing, intentionally limiting your focus to only performance-relevant details. The gymnast acknowledged the coach's presence but didn't let it disrupt his routine. Finally, maintain process orientation over outcome thinking. Instead of worrying about qualification implications, focus on executing each skill safely, enabling body awareness and staying in the present moment. Here's your immediate action step within the next 24 hours. Write down a list of potential triggers or distractions during performance. Practice acknowledging them in your next training and bringing your attention back to your routine. These skills apply beyond gymnastics. Whether giving a presentation in the middle of technical difficulties, managing disruptions in a meeting, or handling surprises in any high-stakes situation, your ability to compartmentalize pressure determines whether disruptions define or merely test you. The next time you face unexpected complications during a critical moment, remember to acknowledge the disruption without emotionally engaging with it. Maintain your procedural focus and trust your preparation. Chaos doesn't determine performance, but your response to it does. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. Kobe Bryant had a chance to seal the game-winning shot in his rookie season with 1 second left on the clock. But as he threw the ball, it never touched the rim.
18-year-old rookie.
With the scores tied, the game went into overtime. Young Kobe was determined to correct his mistake, but as he got another chance, he missed again, and the crowd started booing. Any person would stop taking risks after such humiliation, but Kobe wasn't an ordinary player. So when a third chance came, he took it again. With cool confidence, he perfected his aim, but this time too, air ball. Even the coach looked upset with the constant risk. And so you'd think Kobe would back down. But in the last 7 seconds of the game, trailing behind by 3 points, he decided to take a final attempt. Everyone was on the edge as he tried to equalize.
Bryant for the tie. Another air ball.
And the Lakers lost the game. Most rookies would never recover from this public humiliation. But as Kobe walked off the court, head held high, he went into self-analysis. It later revealed that his shots were on target but too short due to conditioning. He marked this as the moment his Mamba mentality was born, the turning point that would help him become a 5-time NBA champion. The psychology behind this mindset reveals something extraordinary about resilience. According to neuroscience, what Kobe demonstrated is called failure desensitization. When your brain's threat detection system learns that failure isn't actually dangerous, research shows that athletes who can face public fear early and continue performing actually develop stronger neural pathways for risk-taking and confidence under pressure. Here's the fearless failure protocol to transform setbacks into strength. First, reframe failure as data collection. Each miss is information of what doesn't work. Next, maintain intensity. The moment you start hesitating, you've mentally lost even before you shoot. Finally, frame your identity around effort, not outcome. Detach your self-worth from the mistake. This thinking transcends basketball. Whether it's landing a presentation, exam, or striking a negotiation, how you respond to public failure determines whether it breaks you or builds unshakable confidence. Here's your next step within 24 hours. Write down your toughest upcoming challenge, then spend 5 minutes visualizing yourself executing perfectly under that pressure. This mental rehearsal builds immunity to the fear of failure. So the next time you face your own airball moment, remember that champions aren't those who never miss. They're those who keep shooting anyway. True fearlessness isn't the absence of failure. It's the courage that pushes through despite it. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When a fan suddenly rushes onto the cricket field during an IPL match, what happens in the next 30 seconds reveals why Virat Kohli's mental game is just as impressive as his batting technique. Imagine the scene, a high-stakes cricket match, thousands watching, and then complete disruption. In that moment, Kohli faces a split-second choice that could derail his performance or showcase the psychological mastery that separates legends from talented players. According to attention research, unexpected disruptions triggers what neuroscientists call an orienting response, your brain's alert system that momentarily pulls focus from your primary task, releasing a cascade of stress hormones that can disrupt performance for up to 15 minutes if not managed properly. Studies show that elite performers develop a specialized neural network that enables rapid attention recovery, allowing them to acknowledge disruptions but immediately restore their performance state. Watch closely as Kohli responds. There's no irritation or panic as the fan falls to his feet, just a brief acknowledgement, a respectful gesture hugging the fan, and then something remarkable happens. His face transforms as he mentally steps back into his performance zone, as if the interruption never happened. Here's the distraction proofing protocol that champions use. First, build a mental disruption library through visualization. Regularly include a practice of imagining unexpected scenarios during your performance routine and mentally rehearse your calm recovery, preparing your brain's neural pathways for real-world interruption. Next, establish an immediate reset ritual. Develop a consistent sequence like Kohli's deep breath, brief acknowledgement, and physical realignment gesture that signals your brain to re-enter performance state regardless of what disrupted it. Finally, practice split-second compartmentalization. Train yourself to mentally box distractions by accepting their presence without judgment, then deliberately refocusing on your next action rather than dwelling on the disruption. Kohli's response reveals genuine acceptance of his position, acknowledging his fans with respect rather than frustration, showing how true champions embrace both the privileges and challenges their fame brings. The result, Kohli led his team to a victory with an undefeated score, earning widespread praise for both his sporting excellence and mental composure. This applies beyond cricket. it. Whether during critical presentations, high-stake negotiations, or moments when your concentration is tested, your ability to acknowledge disruptions while maintaining your primary focus determines your performance ceiling. So the next time you face an unexpected disruption in your performance, ask yourself, have I mentally rehearsed how to recover from situations like this? And do I have a specific reset ritual that brings me immediately back to excellence? Remember, champions aren't those who perform in perfect conditions. They're those who've trained themselves to return to excellence no matter what crosses their path. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets.
I am super excited and interested to know about neuroscience and how it's interpreted with sports, because it's a very different and unique profession. I'm sure that when you are sharing to someone that you have done a neuroscience course with related to sports, there must be question marks in people's head, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm very curious to know that.
Okay, so breaking it down, so basically, we know that what controls our behavior, right? It's controlled by thoughts and emotions, right? The things that go on in our head, the things we think about, and the way we feel. Now, thoughts and emotions are going on in the mind, but neuroscience studies that behind these thoughts, behind these emotions, what is happening at the biological level. So, neuroscience is study of the biology of mental processes that go on in a human being. So in neuroscience, you study things like the structure of the brain, different parts of the brain, and what different parts of the brain are responsible for, and the functionality of all these components. So relating it to sports now, let's look at the brain. So in the brain, we have something known as the cortex. The cortex is this topmost region where most of the activity happens. It occupies most part of the brain and has the highest number of neuronal cells which are responsible for all that brain activity. So when it comes to an athlete, right, you can also ask, how is an athlete's brain different? Or why should, neuroscience be studied for an athlete? So within the cortex, which is responsible for all our behaviors and thoughts, there's a region called the motor cortex. So the motor cortex, as you can guess, is related to motor activity, moving your hands, moving your muscles, things like that. So basically when this area is strong, or, you make it strong and you strengthen it, this improves your physical performance as an athlete. So there's a direct correlation between the strength of your motor cortex in your brain and how well you can perform as an athlete. So this is a direct correlation. And how do you perform? How do you measure this? The motor cortex, there's gray matter, there's white matter. At the neuronal level, there are cells, there's action potential, there are neurotransmitters playing. So there's so many things going on, which we leave to the scientists to research, the neuroscientists to do. And we'll just take that and apply that to our sports. So understanding the brain, understanding what's going on, and how that connects to an athlete, that is very interesting and important to know. Another thing in the brain is the prefrontal cortex. This is all the decision making happens, and where the mindfulness happens. So again, I talked about the technique of mindfulness. So basically, when your mindfulness is high, when you're able to really focus on the moment and do your best in that, this is shown with optimal activity in your prefrontal cortex. Optimal activity means that your mind is not like that monkey brain, which is constantly moving around everywhere. If it's like that, then what we talked about earlier, in the gymnastics, that vaulting horse apparatus, when you're running and doing that somersault, your mind will be on what the coach is thinking. Your mind will be on your previous performance. Your mind will be like, okay, what will happen afterwards? If we win, will we celebrate? If we win, which restaurant will I eat food in? Things like it's good in that moment. So there's a direct correlation between the prefrontal area of your brain and the strength in that. If that functionality is good over there, then it correlates with your ability to perform well, to have better decision making, have better focus and concentration. So this is how it directly relates to sports and performance.
What are some of the mental drills that an athlete can adopt to be mentally stronger?
Okay, so I can suggest one drill for you that works a lot for athletes, and this is the technique of visualization. So visualization, you can read up more about it, you can watch videos, and you can also reach out to me. So it's basically a process where you sit and you visualize the kind of outcome you want, the kind of specific actions you want to learn, and there's so much more to talk about this. But one technique is visualization. Another one technique is mindfulness. So being present at the moment, practicing your skills to be mindful, helps athletes focus on the moment. Because I'll give you an example. When you are playing a sport, let's take gymnastics, for example, and you have to vaulting horse. It is for audience who doesn't know this, vaulting horse, and I'm sure you know this, Chinmay, is
Yeah.
it's a table, basically a vaulting table, and there's a crash mat on the other side, and there's a springboard. So to run at high speed, jump on it, place your hands on the board, do some crazy cool flips, and land on the mat. So yeah, to simplify. So now when you want to do that, right, you have your coach standing there, anticipating like how is she going to perform? Is she going to land? Is she going to fall? The biggest thing about in gymnastics is you have to stick your landing. You have to be good and you have to be very gracious when you do it. Yeah. And then you have the judges, the panel of judges just sitting there waiting to judge you. Just waiting there. Some people might be bored. They might be sipping their coffee or something. Some people are, just waiting there to see what you're performing. And then you have the crowd. You have your own teammates who you're competing also. And you have the competitors there who are, competing against you. So when you run and go for that vault, when you're about to do that handspring or that somersault, what is going on in your mind, right? If you're able to, if you keep thinking about what the coach is thinking, what the judges are going to do, how it's going to perform, your mind is everywhere else. And therefore, you won't be able to focus on that particular apparatus, on that particular somersault, that particular element that you have to do. But if you are mindful, you can focus. When you're running, you know what steps you're taking, how fast you're going. When you're placing your hands, you know exactly where you've put your hands on the mat. And when you land, you're super conscious of where you've landed and whether you've stuck your landing or not. So this comes under mindfulness. So to answer your question, 2 techniques which are super helpful: visualization, which improves your confidence and motivation of things that have to come, plus that mindfulness. I gave you this example, when you're doing that, you're just doing that, and then you literally perfect that. These are the 2 techniques.
I feel that these both techniques are also applicable for our normal life as well. Like if you visualize few thoughts and to achieve your goals, it's additional to what you achieve and celebrate to your goals.
Definitely.
When world champion Gukesh's heartbeat measures just 61 beats per minute while his opponent's races at 87, it reveals something fascinating about peak performance psychology. According to neuroscience, your heart rate directly reflects your nervous system's activation level. For champions like Gukesh, learning to master composure while maintaining alertness becomes a critical competitive advantage. What we're seeing here is the Yerkes-Dodson law in action, the psychological principle that shows that each sport has its optimal level of arousal for peak performance. Here's the optimal arousal protocol that champions use. First, know your sport's arousal requirements. Low-intensity sports like chess, golf, and shooting demand calm systems around 60 to 70 beats per minute. Medium-intensity sports like tennis and cricket perform best at 90 to 120 beats per minute. And high-intensity sports like sprinting and MMA need elevated heart rate around 120 to 150 beats per minute. Next, prepare your system the night before the competition. Control screen time, practice 10 minutes of breathing work, and avoid stimulants that might elevate your baseline. Finally, fine-tune your arousal level right before the competition. For chess, like Gukesh, use deep breathing to maintain calmness. For tennis, incorporate light dynamic movements. For contact sports, use high-tempo music, power moves, and visualization to elevate your system. This applies beyond sport. Whether you're managing a crucial client call, preparing for a first date, or handling a complex surgery, finding your task's optimal level of activation is the difference between performance and excellence. So the next time you're preparing for an important performance, check your heart rate and ask, is my system at the optimal level for what I'm about to do? Remember, champions don't just prepare their skills, they prepare their systems. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When Sunita Williams finally returned to Earth after 9 months stranded in space, it revealed something profound about the psychology of human resilience. According to psychology, extended isolation in extreme environments creates unique mental challenges. The human brain evolved for social connection and environmental variety, must adapt to unprecedented constraints. What's fascinating is how Williams found mental anchors through cultural and philosophical texts. She carried the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, Homer's Odyssey, and even an idol of Ganesha, creating meaningful frameworks that research shows can significantly enhance psychological resilience. On March 19th, the world celebrated her return, with people in her ancestral village in Gujarat's Mehsana district bursting firecrackers and dancing in celebration of her safe return. Here's the extreme resilience protocol that can be applied to any challenging situation. First, establish psychological anchors. Williams found meaning in texts like Bhagavad Gita that emphasize duty without attachment to results, particularly relevant when factors are beyond your control. Next, maintain both a global and detailed perspective. Notice how she balanced the blue marble view of Earth with focused attention to daily procedures and responsibilities. Finally, integrate your philosophical anchors with new challenges. Provides the psychological foundation needed for resilience. This applies beyond space travel. Whether facing career setbacks, health challenges, or relationship difficulties, the ability to find meaning systems and maintain dual perspectives determines resilience. So the next time you face your own stranded in space moment, consider what philosophical anchors might help you navigate the vastness of your challenge. In life's most isolated moments, the right mental frameworks don't just help you survive, they help you thrive. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. R. Ashwin, international cricket player, storms off the field after being given out by this female umpire in the TN Premier League. His explosive reaction reveals why mastering the crucial 90-second window can help you cool off under pressure. According to neuroscience, when we feel an unfair call is made against us, the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the brain's anger center, floods our system with stress hormones. However, research shows that we have a critical 90-second window where these chemicals can either overwhelm our rational thinking or regain control. Here's the 90-second anger protocol that champions use in these angering moments. First, take a deep breath in to activate your parasympathetic nervous system and give your brain a chance to understand the situation. Accept the situation first before reacting. Next, ask the control question. Can this decision be changed right now? Prior to this ball, the team had already exhausted all their options to review the decision, so he couldn't challenge this call anymore. In such situations, consciously redirect your energy towards what you can control, your response, and maintaining your reputation. Finally, anticipate the consequences of your decision and implement a cooling off strategy before any public reaction. This protocol works in any situation where you feel wrong. Whether facing unfair criticism at work, unjust treatment in relationships, or biased decisions in competitive settings, take those crucial 90 seconds to breathe, walk calmly, and remember that you're likely to laugh about this later. Your reaction to the incident has a longer lasting impact than the incident itself. The next time you feel the surge of the righteousness anger, remember that you have crucial 90 seconds to choose between a reaction that you'd regret or a response for which you'll respect yourself later. Champions aren't those who never get angry. They're those who've mastered the art of responding without letting the anger control them itself. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. This young girl is overwhelmed with fear and doubt right before her big moment, clearly believing she can't do this. But watch what happens when her friends gather around her, encouraging her, hyping her up, reminding her of her capabilities. The transformation is remarkable. Shoulders back, head high, tears gone. She's now ready to perform, showing how quickly confidence can shift when you're surrounded by the right people. According to social neuroscience, supportive peer interactions trigger oxytocin release in your brain, the trust hormone that reduces anxiety and activates your brain's reward pathways. This creates a neurological safety net that allows you to shift focus from perceived threat to performance opportunities, literally changing your brain chemistry in moments. Here's the confidence network protocol that elite performers use to build the right support system. First, notice how people react to your achievements. Those who genuinely celebrate your wins rather than diminishing them are creating psychological safety for your growth. Next, evaluate whether they brush off your challenges with invalidating remarks or actively help you navigate solutions. True confidence boosters offer pathways forward, not just sympathy. Finally, after spending time with them, check whether you feel more capable and valued or more judged and inadequate. Your emotional state after interaction is a clear indicator of their impact on your confidence. This applies far beyond performance settings, whether in your career, relationships, or personal development. development. The people you surround yourself with literally shape your brain's capacity for confidence and resilience. So take notice of your 5 closest relationships and assess their impact on your confidence level. Sometimes the biggest confidence breakthroughs isn't a new technique, but a new environment. Remember, confidence isn't just an individual trait, it's a collective energy that flows between people who believe in each other's potential. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When these swimmers challenge their coach to a race and she gives them a 5-second head start, what happens next reveals something powerful about the psychology of ego. Watch how this unfolds. The swimmers are already way ahead when the coach pushes off, but then she disappears underwater using the dolphin kick technique perfectly. When she resurfaces, she is nearly caught up. One by one, she overtakes them all, winning despite the handicap. According to neuroscience, what these swimmers experienced was the disruption of the self-enhancement bias, our brain's tendency to overestimate our abilities. Research shows that this process is controlled by the medial prefrontal cortex, which actively creates positive illusions about our skills relative to others. Here's the ego management protocol that elite performers use to balance confidence with reality. First, recognize that ego isn't inherently problematic. It's a protective psychological mechanism, but unchecked ego creates blind spots about your actual skill level, leading to false confidence that crumbles under pressure. Next, seek evidence-based feedback rather than validation. Notice how the coach didn't argue with the swimmer. He simply demonstrated the gap between perception and reality through direct experience. Finally, practice respectful challenges within your training environment. Quality questions from a place of curiosity rather than competition build both knowledge and relationships, while ego-driven challenges waste energy and close learning pathways. This principle extends far beyond the pool. Whether in your career, relationships, or personal development, the ability to temporarily set aside ego in service of growth determines if you remain stagnant or continuously evolve. The next time you catch yourself feeling superior or dismissive of guidance, ask, am I responding from skill or ego? The honest answer opens the door to genuine improvement. True champions aren't those with the smallest egos, but those who've learned to make their egos serve their excellence rather than sabotage it. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When this tennis player smashes his racket against his knee until he bleeds, it reveals something deeper than just frustration over a missed point. According to psychology, extreme emotional reactions like this aren't actually about the incident itself. They're about how the moment connects to our core beliefs and insecurities. Neuroscience shows that when we experience disproportionate anger, our amygdala is responding not just to the present moment, but to deeper neural pathways that link to our self-image and worth. Consider this contrast. Nadal has broken 0 rackets in his career, saying his family taught him that it disrespects children who can't afford equipment. Meanwhile, this tennis player broke a record of 1,055 rackets in his professional career. Same sport, completely different relationships with frustration. Here's the trigger identity protocol that helps athletes understand and manage these reactions. First, recognize that extreme anger could signal an identity threat. That missed point isn't just costing you the game, it's challenging who you believe you are as a player. Next, catch the specific thoughts running through your mind in that moment. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about what this means about me? It might be, I'm not good enough, or I always fail when it matters. Finally, deliberately challenge that core belief with evidence. Write a simple evidence list of your strengths and past achievements and read it daily. This builds a self-image that can't be threatened by a single mistake. This protocol applies beyond sports. Whether someone's criticism upsets you or a mistake at work sends you spiraling, the intensity of your reactions reveals which insecurities have been touched. Taking a deep breath might help in minor moments, but when emotions are this intense, it's like putting a band-aid over a deeper wound. You need to address what's underneath. So the next time you feel anger building disproportionately, pause and ask, what about this moment could be threatening my identity? And is that threat actually true? Champions aren't those who never feel triggered. They're those who use triggers to understand and strengthen themselves. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When this young girl breaks into tears after a failed acrobat stunt, her coach's response reveals the power of true leadership. According to psychology, when facing self-doubt, effective coaching can create what scientists call a psychological safety net, allowing athletes to separate momentary failure from their true potential and creating the neural pathways required for breakthrough performance, preventing stress hormones from flooding your brain. Right after the fall, the coach asks her to repeat this stunt, but she refuses, doubting herself. The cheers in the audience get louder, but the girl's nerves tighten. At this point, the coach picks her up, talks to her gently, and wipes her tears. As he prepares her into position for her next attempt, the moment shows how a coach's words and actions can affect one's psychology and response to failure. Here's the champion leader protocol that elite coaches use. First, validate emotions authentically. Notice how the coach doesn't dismiss her tears or rush her through them, but instead creates space for her feelings without judgment. You can build trust with phrases like, "It's okay to feel this way, and I know how important this is to you." Next, connection. Build connection through unwavering belief. Provide encouraging verbal support in phrases like, "You can do this. You've practiced well." Finally, technical guidance. Break down the process into actionable steps, providing feedback, making the goal feel achievable rather than overwhelming. After wiping her tears and getting her into ready position, the girl attempts the skill again. This time, she nails it perfectly, imprinting an emotional lesson for life. This approach isn't just for acrobats. Whether you're leading a team, teaching a skill, or supporting someone through a challenge, this sequence of validation, belief, and specific guidance creates the psychological foundation for people to move beyond their perceived limitations. So the next time you find yourself in a position to uplift others, remember that your reaction becomes a cornerstone of their self-belief. True leaders aren't those who simply know what has to be done. They're those who inspire others to break through their own limitations. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. After losing a close university match, watch how these basketball players let their emotions take over. The first one storms off, kicking a chair in frustration and throwing another down. The next player goes even further, smashing the same chair and throwing a trash can to the floor. Everyone else just walks past the mess, caught in their own disappointment. Then something unexpected happens. Jamal Shade enters the frame. Instead of adding to the destruction, he stops, picks up the trash can, and begins cleaning what his teammates left behind. You can even see an older man in the stands pointing and trying to help, while silently acknowledging this mature moment of character amid the emotional chaos. According to neuroscience, moments of intense frustration trigger your brain's dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, the part that creates a strong urge to lash out physically when you feel powerless about a situation. But research shows that champions develop brain pathways that allow their prefrontal cortex, the rational center, to stay in charge during these moments, maintaining composure when others lose control. Here's the anger control protocol that top performers use when emotions threaten to take over. First, acknowledge what happened. Take a deep breath and create a crucial pause that prevents automatic responses. Next, identify the core emotion. Ask what's really bothering you, recognizing that anger usually masks deeper feelings of disappointment, helplessness, or not feeling good enough. Finally, activate your locus of control. Determine what aspects you can influence, what you can learn, and how to channel that energy productively rather than destructively. This approach works far beyond sports. When facing rejection, criticism, or setbacks, how you process emotions determines both your effectiveness and how others perceive your character. So the next time you feel frustration building inside you, remember that true mental strength isn't about never feeling upset, but how you choose to handle those feelings. Your true character reveals itself not during winning moments, but in those crucial moments where everything seems to be falling apart. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. This world-famous MotoGP rider had a bad start, dropped to the last position before his race even began. With every other rider ahead of him, he knows that there's no way he's winning this one. But then, he decides to accept the moment. Notice his body language shift. No hesitation as he passes by 6 riders. He's not focused on winning the race, but on making every turn right, breaking it down into mini moments of conquer. But still not in the lead, he narrows his focus. His brain's amygdala deactivates and he pulls through the neurochemical anxiety, mastering the moment. Finally, he's taken the lead, showing that your starting point doesn't define your ending, but your mindset does. The psychology behind this transformation reveals something fascinating. According to neuroscience, the rider demonstrates outcome detachment. When your brain's amygdala, the fear center, stops fixating on the overwhelming end result and focuses only on the immediate process, anxiety drops and allows peak performance to emerge. Here's the comeback protocol that elite performers use in high-pressure moments. First, practice immediate acceptance. Acknowledge the setback without emotional resistance. Notice how Marquez doesn't waste his energy on frustration or self-criticism about his poor start. Next, shift from outcome focus to process mastery. Rather than fixating on the seemingly impossible gap, break the challenge into smaller, achievable tasks like perfecting the next corner or overtaking one rider in the moment. Finally, build momentum through progressive victories. Each small success creates neurochemical rewards that fuel confidence for the next challenge, creating a positive spiral effect that transforms performance. While these are things to do at the time of pressure, you need to practice daily thoughtlessness meditation and visualizing overcoming challenging situations to feel confident to execute it in the moment. This approach works far beyond racing. Whether facing a project setback, career obstacle, or personal challenge, your response to setbacks determines whether a bad start becomes your final story or just the opening chapter. So the next time you find yourself in last place in your own race, remember that your mindset, not your starting position, determines where you finish. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When tensions rise between nations like India and Pakistan, a single piece of fake news can trigger fear, hatred, and actions that could potentially escalate into real conflict. According to neuroscience, when we encounter threatening information during periods of high tension, our brain's amygdala, the fear center, becomes hyperactive, reducing activity in our prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for critical thinking and fact-checking. Research shows that we're 70% more likely to share emotionally charged content without verification, and that fake news has a chance of spreading 6 times faster than verified news. As emotional arousal short circuits our brain's normal fact-checking processes, creating a perfect storm for fake news to spread during critical situations. Here's the information verification protocol that responsible citizens use during sensitive situations. First, implement a personal waiting period. When you encounter alarming news about a sensitive topic, deliberately delay sharing for at least 15 minutes, allowing your initial emotional response to subside so your critical thinking can activate. Next, check multiple independent sources. Before believing or sharing content about tense situations, verify the information across at least 3 credible sources, such as government briefings, respected news outlets, and fact-checking websites that have different perspectives, not just those that align with your existing beliefs. Finally, consider the potential consequences of sharing. Ask yourself, could this information, if correct, contribute to panic, violence, or worsening tensions? If yes, the responsible choice is often to wait for further verification. This approach works beyond geopolitical tensions. Whether evaluating health information during a pandemic, political claims during elections, or any high-stakes situation, your ability to verify before amplifying determines whether you're part of the solution or part of the problem. The next time you encounter alarming news about sensitive situations, remember that your momentary pause and verification could be the difference between spreading dangerous misinformation and being a force of truth. In a world where anyone can publish anything, your critical thinking isn't just a personal skill, it's a crucial public service. Train your mind, train your information habits. Follow for more psychology insights. When chess legend Magnus Carlsen loses an intense match to world champion Gukesh after dominating most of the game, his immediate reaction reveals something profound about champions' response when losing. Magnus had been controlling the entire game, but made a blunder last minute. Gukesh took advantage of it and found the winning move. In that moment of realization, Magnus's frustration erupts. He bangs the table, chess pieces scatter, but what happens next is equally telling. He composes himself, shakes Gukesh's hand, and attempts to fix the fallen pieces. According to sports psychology, initial emotional outburst is a natural demonstration of emotional processing. Research shows that brief expressions of emotions helps the brain transition from intense disappointment to acceptance, allowing the prefrontal cortex to regain control from the emotional limbic system, enabling dignified behavior to follow. Here's the dignified defeat protocol that champions use to handle losses with class. First, observe your initial emotional emotional judgment. Take a pause before you react so as to maintain dignity and control over your behavior. When Magnus banged the table abruptly, he quickly acknowledged it and moved past it before it escalating. Next, shift to honoring the victor and competition like Magnus did, with a supportive pat on Gukesh's back as he walked out. Finally, be careful what you share in public. Magnus has been very vocal about what he feels about Gukesh's game, even saying that he didn't think he was the best player despite him becoming the world champion. But in moments like these, reinforces the tone of arrogance that he has usually shown in different interviews. Despite beating Gukesh several times in this tournament itself, it's more important how you handle your response to your opponent's victory rather than how many times you defeat them. This approach works beyond the chess table. Whether any competitive environment or personal failures, your ability to process emotions quickly and then extend respect to others determines whether defeat becomes destructive or inspiring. The next time you face an unexpected loss or setback, remember that your response in those first few moments after disappointment reveals your true character for who you are rather than what you've achieved. Remember, champions aren't defined by never losing, but how they honor both victory and defeat. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. This unbelievable demonstration reveals something fascinating about the brain-body connection that affects every performance. Watch what happens in this demonstration. When the man is asked to think about love and positive emotions, he easily resists the downward pressure on his arm. But the moment he's asked to recall a moment of shame or inadequacy, his arm gives way almost instantly. This simple yet powerful demonstration shows how your emotional state directly impacts your physical capabilities in ways most people never realize. According to neuroscience, negative emotions like shame and anger can alter the excitability of your motor cortex, the brain region responsible for muscle movement. This may not weaken your muscle directly, but rather interferes with the neural signals your brain sends to activate them, essentially creating a disconnect between your intention and physical response. Here's the emotional strength protocol that elite performers use to maintain physical power under pressure. First, acknowledge and identify your negative emotions without judgment. Write down specifically how the fear of failure, shame over a loss, anger or jealousy make you feel, rather than suppressing these emotions where they can subconsciously influence performance. Remember not to force positivity, but to address these fears honestly. Next, understand the situation dynamics. Filter out the things that you cannot control while accepting your negative emotions about them. True acceptance reduces its power and prevents wasting emotional energy on unchangeable circumstances. Finally, deliberately shift towards positive emotional states like pride, gratitude, or confidence by focusing on your strengths and past successes, creating a performance-enhancing neural environment. This brain-body connection affects not just critical game performance, but personal life challenges, immunity, and resilience. Your emotional state is literally determining your physical ability to respond effectively. Before your next important performance, check for any negative emotions that might be secretly suppressing your strength and use this protocol to address them directly. Remember, your body is only as strong as your mind allows it to be. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. For a more personalized approach, DM Mind to schedule a mental training session. When Virat Kohli announces his retirement from Test cricket, it reveals something profound about owning your identity that goes far beyond cricket. After the rumors were swirling, some say he wanted captaincy, but younger talent was preferred. Others point to family commitments or focusing on shorter formats of the game. Amid all this speculation, one thing is clear. Kohli is making the decision on his own terms, standing firm despite the BCCI repeatedly asking him to reconsider. According to psychology, our identity becomes deeply intertwined with our professional roles. When that identity is threatened, whether by age, performance, commitments, or organizational decisions, the brain's default mode network, which governs our sense of self, activates self-protective mechanisms, creating profound distress that can only be resolved through either denial or conscious redefinition. Here's the self-worth alignment protocol that high performers use when facing identity-defining decisions. First, recognize that true self-respect comes from authoring your own story. Notice how Kohli isn't waiting to be pushed out or to visibly decline. He's choosing when and how this chapter ends, owning his identity. Next, Distinguish between ego and authentic self-worth. The ego clings desperately to positions and titles, while self-respect understands when it's time to evolve, even if that means stepping away from something that you've mastered. Finally, prioritize legacy over longevity. Research shows that how you're remembered is determined more by the quality of your final years than by their quantity, known as the peak end rule. Champions protect their legacy by making difficult decisions before circumstances force them. This approach extends far beyond cricket. Whether in your career, relationships, or personal pursuits, your willingness to make decisions aligned with your authentic self-worth determines whether you control the narrative or have it dictated to you. The next time you face a pivotal decision about your role or position, check whether your choice serves your authentic self-worth rather than external expectations or others' definitions of success, even if it means not making your 10,000 runs in Test cricket. Remember, your worth isn't defined by titles or positions, but by knowing yourself deeply and making your own choices. Thank you, Kohli, for all the years in Test cricket. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. When this video of young Vaibhav Suryavanshi emerged of playing cricket on the terrace during lockdown, it reveals something crucial about training that most athletes overlook. His determination is not the question. Finding a way to practice when all training grounds were closed, like all athletes working with limited circumstances, adapting when situations weren't ideal. But crisis situations don't just test physical training. They trigger emotional challenges as well, like frustration, helplessness, uncertainty, and anxiety. While athletes focus on physical techniques and skill development, there's an invisible dimension of training that could be equally powerful. According to research in psychology, unexpressed emotions and unprocessed mental experiences don't simply disappear. They remain stored in your brain's limbic system, potentially disrupting performance when you least expect it. This is why elite athletes are now adding emotional journaling to their training regime. Here's the emotional training protocol that elite performers use to build mental resilience. First, move beyond technical journaling. Most athletes record what they did in practice and what skills they need to improve, but they completely miss documenting how they felt during that practice, about previous performances or upcoming competitions. Next, implement daily emotional check-ins. Just as you wouldn't skip physical training, don't skip emotional training. Simple questions like, what emotions came up during today's practice? And what am I feeling about tomorrow's competition? Build crucial self-awareness. Finally, connect emotions to performance patterns. Look for correlations between your emotional states and your best and worst performances. This emotional mapping reveals your personal optimal emotional zone and potential triggers that weaken you. This approach applies far beyond sports. Whether you're facing career challenges, relationship difficulties, or personal setbacks, addressing emotions directly through journaling prevents them from ambushing you at your weakest moments. Take 5 minutes after your next practice or work day to document not just what you did, but how you felt. You'll be surprised at the insights and patterns that emerge when you treat emotional fitness with the same seriousness as physical training. Your emotions are data, not distractions. Learn to read them and they become your greatest performance advantage. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. For a more personalized approach, DM Mind to schedule a mental training session. At an unexpected football match, two men erupted into a heated argument with each other. One man seemed to keep his cool, while the other aggressively tried to intimidate him, completely unaware of who he was facing. This composed man was later identified as Misael Rodriguez, an Olympic bronze medalist boxer with a professional fight record of 14 wins and 0 losses, 7 wins by knockout. You can see the identified Olympic boxer standing his ground, not even flinching as threats are thrown into his face. The calm confidence of someone who knows their capabilities. As tension escalates, a third man tries to intervene, pulling his friend back and trying to defuse the situation before it potentially turns regrettable. The identified boxer simply relaxes, smiles, and walks away, recognizing the confrontation isn't worth his energy, demonstrating something profound about the psychology of true champions. According to neuroscience, when our brain is threatened, it activates the amygdala, the emotional center, making us want to prove ourselves and mark our territory as an evolutionary response. But champions have a unique way of activating their prefrontal cortex and staying calm, keeping dignity, and not wasting energy where it doesn't matter. Here's a champion's restraint protocol that elite athletes use. First, know yourself. When you truly understand your capabilities, you have nothing to prove to others. Next, ask if the argument is worth it. Anticipate the consequences of engagement versus walking away. Finally, leave the situation casually, keeping your peace of mind. Truly secure champions walk away from pointless confrontations, while those driven by insecurity often feel compelled to engage. This applies beyond stadium confrontations. In your career, relationships, or public settings, or even if an opponent tries to threaten you, your ability to maintain composure when provoked reveals your true mental strength. So when someone tries to drag you into a conflict, remember that walking away often requires more strength than engaging. In a surprising twist, this man wasn't actually Misael Rodriguez, just a case of mistaken identity spread by a viral social media video. Here you can see the real Misael laughing about the confusion, with the cameraman highlighting how the tattoos on Misael's arms are clearly absent on the man in the viral video. Though we got the wrong guy, the lesson still remains powerful. True inner confidence allows some to maintain composure when their emotional control is tested. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more sports psychology secrets. Popular streamers film themselves kicking and abusing $70,000 humanoid robot for entertainment. It reveals something disturbing about human behavior that extends far beyond technology. Look at what's happening here. 3 influencers laughing as they repeatedly kick, push, and torment this sophisticated robot that appears to be trying to escape. The machine, designed to respond to its environment, seems to be attempting to flee from the house where this is taking place. While the robot can't feel pain, something about this scenario feels deeply upsetting. Why would deliberately mistreating an object designed to mimic human movement bring any fun? What does entertainment derived from dominance and cruelty reveal about us? According to psychology research, how we treat entities that mimic human or animal qualities reflects our empathetic capacity. Studies show that children who abuse animals often lack empathy that extends to human interactions later in life, suggesting our treatment of non-human entities reveals neural pathways connected to compassion and cruelty that transcends whether the recipient actually experiences suffering. Here's the humanity reflection protocol that helps us examine our behavior towards all entities. First, recognize that your treatment of any entity, whether living or artificial, reflects your character, not theirs. Our behavior towards things that can't feel pain reveals our internal values and tendencies. Next, consider what you're modeling for others. Even with non-human entities, your behavior demonstrates what you consider acceptable treatment of those with less power, far beyond the immediate interaction. Finally, ask what kind of world you're helping create. As AI and robotics advance, our early interaction with these technologies are setting precedents for the relationship between humanity and artificial intelligence that will shape our shared future. This extends far beyond this situation. Whether it's how we treat service workers, animals, or those in positions of vulnerability, behavior that derives entertainment from domination often indicates concerning patterns that affects all our relationships. The next time you interact with something designed to mimic humanity, from customer service chatbots to sophisticated robots, consider how your behavior reflects who you are rather than what they are. Remember, the true measure of character isn't how you treat those who can hurt you, it's how you treat those who cannot. Train your mind, train your game. Follow for more psychology secrets.